This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network. TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Red Side of the Trent, here to preview the Ipswich Town game as Forest head to Portman Road for the first time in what seems like a long time since we've not crossed paths for a while. They went down to League One, we've kind of gone out of the Championship and they've come back up and had a bit of a storm back up to the Premier League, but going down with maybe a little bit of a whimper. To discuss everything in more detail is Mason Coy. Mason, how are you first of all?
Yeah, good mate. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, well, last time we had you was celebrating Matt Sellers' 10 clean sheets. It's been 2 more since then, which has been fabulous. Obviously, 4 points against Arsenal and Man City. I think we'd have all snapped your hands off for that with that 4-game run we've had against, including with Fulham and you'll have to remind me of the other one, Newcastle. Yeah.
Brilliant, isn't it? Really, 4 points up from them 2 games, home games, unreal, and 2 clean sheets as well.
Yeah, and deserved, I'd say. I wouldn't say like we maybe wavered a bit of a kind of a siege from Arsenal with lots of corners as such, but maybe not chances. So it kind of looks like we're back to our defensive best, I would say. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, especially after like we just said, the last 2 games. I think the Arsenal game was a funny one, really. I know you just touched on it then. I was a bit annoyed in the ground, and I think the bloke next to me had a bit of a pop at me to his mate. Obviously, as you know, I struggle to keep my thoughts to myself, especially when we're playing. But I wasn't venting my frustration at the team. I was venting my frustration on the fact that I spent money to watch that game, because it was quite an abysmal turnout, really, wasn't it, in terms of quality. Like you said, Arsenal had a few corners. We had a couple of flurries of attacks, if you could call them that. And yeah, it was just a bit of a nothing game, really, wasn't it? But I think in hindsight, you take it, especially when you back it up with a win like we did. So yeah, it was brilliant, really.
What do you take from both them games? Because Man City had like they've got possibly the best striker in the world. Some would argue to the cows come home that he is, and some would say he isn't in terms of being a complete footballer. I think me and you are probably on that side of the fence. But but Arsenal didn't have a centre forward, or really, like, I mean, I'd argue their wingers were probably even weaker than what we played against with City, apart from Wanyeri maybe. But I wouldn't say Trossard is any better than like Doku or Savinho as such in terms of being like that sharp, horrible, fast kind of winger. So what do you think were the differences there? Because we created quite a few chances against City. In all honesty, we got behind them a lot more anyway, and that's what I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know what, I think the last 2 weeks, obviously after Newcastle, I don't know, it's hard to put your finger on. Obviously, if everyone could put the finger on it, we'd all be managers, wouldn't we? It just wasn't right. Whether it was the formation, obviously it got tweaked at half time with the wingers swapping away at Newcastle, and he kept it similar to that. And obviously Man City was a completely different story with the tactical tweaks. But yeah, I think we just went back to basics, back to how we became this team that we are now. I think obviously with a bit more emphasis on the defensive side. I think it has took away a bit of our attacking flair, is probably not the right word, but a bit of our attacking prowess. We don't look as sharp as in the final third as we have done. But then again, you could look at it and say you're playing Arsenal, who have got a really good defence. I think they've conceded a few goals, haven't they, really? And Man City have got £50 million defenders everywhere you look. So I think there's that to take into consideration. I think a better way to look at it will be after Ipswich, to see how many we score or how we attack that game and defend that game. I think overall, Nuno's just ripped up the sheet, that the Newcastle away sheet and the Fulham away sheet, and gone, right, we're going back to the way we played that got us in this position.
Yeah, I mean, we've not conceded since Newcastle half time, but I did want to talk to you about that tweak in shape from Saturday. We spoke about it a little bit on our pod on Sunday, and I thought it was so clever from Nuno in a way, because at times we was in a 4-4-2, sometimes in a 4-2-4, sometimes in a 4-3-3. It was really fluid and really interesting to watch from a nerd point of view, as I like to call it. But what did you make of it watching it from home? Because I know you didn't manage to get a ticket, unfortunately, did you?
No, yeah, mate, I loved it. Honestly, I loved it so much because obviously when the team comes out, you just look at it and go, "Oh, it's a conventional 4-2-3-1. It'll be Dominguez with Anderson." And then when you see it line up, as soon as I seen them lining up for kickoff, I was literally like, "Oh, here we go. He's gone for something different." And you know what? I think 9 times out of 10, Nuno gets them little tweaks right. I think I've mentioned it, to be fair, on a previous pod with you. Like he's so good at them tactical tweaks. He's so good at it, and hats off to him especially. And you know what? Hats off to Dominguez. Elanga wasn't the typical Elanga that we've seen of recent, but hats off to him because he's playing a second striker almost, a different, completely different role. Yeah, he played it at Brighton, but it's not what he's used to, is it? He's a winger. Hats off to the players for putting in the work and doing it well as well. I think that's why I love Nuno. For me, I think that's the difference between Cooper and I think we've even missed a step, because I think there's managers in between Cooper and Nuno where you go, yeah, I'd probably put him there. I think this is why I love Nuno so much. He's got the same players on the pitch that played the last game, but it's a completely different tweak, like we said, completely different tactics, completely different ideas. And I think that's what separates him from any manager we've had in recent times.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it because it allowed our wingers to be a bit higher up as well. Like because Dominguez comes over to cover, and then we're setting traps because we want City to go wide, because we know like 1v1 we're pretty comfortable. I mean, Olaina gets so much compliments and so much praise from everyone, but Nico Williams has been outstanding this season against some of the best wingers in the world, and I think we'll sing his phrases a little bit later on. But I did want to talk a little bit about Morgan Gibbs-White's role in the team, because I like wax lyrical a lot about him, and obviously the pass for Callum Hudson-Odoi was unbelievable. It's been shown here, there, and everywhere, and it just looks such a simple ball where he's got the ball out on the half turn, out of his feet, just pinged it, and you're just like, wow. And he's got and Hudson-Odoi in on goal. I mean, we put out a tweet with the goal, and Pep Guardiola basically sinking to his knees because it's just completely opened his team up. I mean, I thought his role on Saturday was amazing because it allowed him to get on the ball a lot more. We often, and especially you, Mason, I mean, I'll let people behind the curtain, you criticise Gibbs-White when he doesn't get on the ball too much. I thought on Saturday that role he had allowed him to do that and have more influence on the game.
Yeah, 100%. For me, I've always said it. I'm not claiming that I'm a genius or anything. I've always said Gibbs-White, when he drops deeper and he gets us on the ball, that's where we see the best of him. Yeah, he is a number 10, but he's got that where he's so good on the ball. I genuinely don't think there's anyone in our team, maybe apart from Murillo, who sees that pass and has the audacity to play it and does it with that much quality as well. I don't think there's another player in our team. I'd argue there's not many players in the league that could play that pass. And, you know, I'm possibly overcritical on Gibbs-White. It's because, you know, he can produce moments like that. So then sometimes when he has his games where he's a bit quieter, I'm overly critical, but that's just me being me. But no, I think genuinely that pass is obviously his recent performances add into this as well. But if that pass doesn't get him a call up to England, there's something wrong. I seen somebody today saying, "Oh, Gibbs-White's in with an outside chance." If he's an outside chance, I'd love to know who's inside chance. I'd love to know who's already in their books, because they must be performing 10 out of 10 every week, because he's been sensational recently.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to put up a little graphic. So this was from Forrest's Twitter. So this was his heat map on Saturday, which is just ridiculous, isn't it? Like, the only place he's not covered is like the right back position. So it was a bit poor there, really, from Morgan. But yeah, it's just I think if you get him on the ball more, then we've got more of a chance of winning football matches, haven't we? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, like how much ground he covers, and I think this is why we love him so much, and why we we bang the drum about him being in England, because although we've got unbelievable number 10s like Bellingham, Foden, Cole Palmer, Maddison in that mix as well, and probably a lot of other players, what he does off the ball is unbelievable work rate. He loves a tackle. He gets up for it. He can do several jobs. The only thing I hate that he can't do is shoot, because he can play that ball out wide like it's nothing, but he gets within the box and you're like, well, shoot then, and it's like he turns into mush. He obviously likes getting assists way more than he likes scoring goals, doesn't he? So
yeah. For me, that's what separates Gibbs-White to the others. To be honest, I think that separates him, especially at the minute. Cole Palmer, people like that. I wouldn't say I'd say there's possibly not a number 10 who's in bigger form than Gibbs-White at the minute. Obviously, I like Rodgers at Villa. I think Morgan Rodgers is a really good player. But even that, I think Gibbs-White's work rate it separates him from the rest, in my opinion. Potentially a little bit of bias in there, but one of his main contenders was on the pitch on Saturday, and he was non-existent in Foden. I genuinely thought he was poor. He was really poor. There was that quick shot that he had, which Dominguez blocked. You could argue on TV that looked like it was going wide in the second replay. So no one's even mentioned that. He just, if you compared the two, and if I was an England manager and I'm sat completely non-biased, I'm watching that game, I'm taking Gibbs-White 10 times out of 10, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, what did you make of it in overall in a spectacle? Because City had lots of the ball, which we expected them to, but I never really felt like we was going to lose that game. I just thought we were so calm. It's the best. You can argue it's the best we've played, but last season we played really well against City and didn't win the game. But I don't want to put it down and downplay our victory, but it was the poorest I've seen City in a long time. I thought their best player was Kuzmanov, and even he was a little bit green, because there was a times where he went trying to rush and get the ball and try and win the ball high up and completely got outdone. Luckily, he's got a bit of a turn of pace and can recover pretty quickly. But I just was never worried about it. And the only time I complained was when they were bringing De Bruyne and Marmoush on, and we was bringing Yates on. Not to give any disrespect to Ryan Yates, but you kind of look at it and you go, come on now, but that pitch, someone took a picture. I think they got 4 million views on it, saying just such a funny picture. £150 million coming on for City, lad from Lincoln coming on for us. Yeah,
to be honest, mate, I think they didn't move the ball quick enough. If you're playing against us, I think the teams that have beat us, I think there's been one game this season where I thought we'd been bullied, and that was Newcastle at home, and we lost. The teams that have beat us, apart from Fulham at home, is probably another one that's a bit of a different story. There's a penalty. But apart from that, the teams that have beat us have moved us around, moved the ball really quickly, and they've picked us off. And they've got into little pockets. I think we've struggled with number 10s on the whole this season. And to be honest, I don't think they really necessarily had one the other day. They were all drifting, trying to find different pockets. And like we said, we forced them wide, so we've got to give ourselves a pat on the back. But I don't think City helped themselves. I really don't think they helped themselves. And I think it got mentioned on your guys' pod as well after. As soon as they took Nico Gonzalez off, that's Gibbs-White heaven. They've left a massive hole in the middle of the pitch. Kovacic is a bit more forward-thinking. He's more of a central midfield player, isn't he, than a deep-line sitter. So I think Pep got his subs wrong. I don't think they worked. And I think they played right into our hands by playing so slowly. And if everything's in front of you as well, I can't remember one time they tried to turn us in behind and get Haaland running in behind. I don't think they did it once. If that's how you stretch us, and they didn't find gaps in the number 10 roles, which they're usually really good at, or down the sides for the little cutbacks. But that's because we were so disciplined. Dominguez and Hudson-Odoi put in absolute shifts, backed up the fullbacks. The fullbacks were just... I haven't got a word for them two at the minute. The way them two have played for the last two games has been frightening, absolutely frightening. Obviously, like you said, we'll touch on Nico in a bit, but they're frightening. I think it was just one of them days, like you said, after probably half time. As soon as that second half kicked off, I thought, we're not losing here. There is no way on earth we're losing this game. It's just whether we could get that chance, and we ended up having two. And obviously, Edison's pulled off a worldie for the first one. And the second one, he had Poppard on wrist, didn't he? So, I think in the end, it was rightly deserved, 100%.
I've asked this to everyone, obviously on Sunday, so to say. So I got to ask you: Did you think he'd scored? I know you watch it on telly, so it's probably a bit. You've got a far better angle than probably what I did in the ground. But I generally didn't even remember him kicking the ball. I was just like, what the hell's happened? And then it was like,
yeah, it's one of them.
Celebrate it. Strange.
Yeah, it was one of them very bizarre moments where he shot, you've seen the ball hit the net, and it was almost like a, is it? I'm not sure if it is or not. It was quite strange. To be honest, as you can imagine, I'm quite vocal at home when I'm watching the game. I was on my own as well, which was even better. So I had no one to tell me off. But so yeah, I was. Oh my God, he scored! Oh my God, he's actually scored! Yeah, it was such a strange moment, and you could even feel that through the television, like in the ground, like there was such a delayed reaction. It was almost like the people lower Trent celebrated, and then everyone was like, "Oh, it's actually got like we can celebrate now." And I think you can see it on the bench cam as well, the way like the players step out and they're like very hesitant. So yeah, it was a strange moment. And also, I think everyone was expecting the cutback. Even Chris Wood was expecting the cutback because he had a bit of a delayed reaction. He stood penalty spot area waiting, and then his arms just go up in the air to say, "Yes, we've scored." So I think he did everyone in the ground, to be honest. Sent everyone for a hot dog, including Vardyar and Edison.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like your brother showed me his wound that he did a knee slide similar to Callum, and it all went pear shaped. So I don't know what to say about a 32-year-old man or 33-year-old man bleeding knee sliding through his living room, like or but I rate it. And yeah, do you know what it reminded me of? I went Derby away when we beat him, and Osborne scored that goal, and it was almost like that split second of like it's hit the back of the net, like, and then you just. It's weird. Like, Joe, if you could bottle that kind of feeling up and keep it, and then I open it up every now and then and like really experience it. That is that feeling in football that I absolutely adore. And it was a proper like probably top 5 City Ground moment. I would say possibly for being there. I mean, it was ridiculous. But I just wanted a bit of a response from you, Mason, about what a lot of fans have now coming out and saying. This is not just City fans by the sounds of it. It sounds like a lot of fans, but they were saying like, "Oh, the money, the figure seems to keep going up." I don't know how much we spent in the last 3 years, but everyone's like saying, "Oh, you spent 400 million. You should be up there." I'm pretty sure our wage budget and like the wage that we're spending and like our squad value is still ranks as one of the lowest in the league, and obviously we were still predicted to come in the bottom 3 by a lot of people, or if not just above. So everyone's eating proper sour grapes right now because we're upsetting the cartel.
Yeah, that's all it is, in my opinion. That's all it is. The one thing they can get us on is the tweet, which the FA have got us on this week, and the moaning about VAR, which was last season. I don't think there's been much of that this season at all. And then is the players and the money. But then I don't see Ipswich getting any flack. I don't see Burnley getting any flack, and they've done worse. If anything, we should be getting praised for the amount of money we've spent and the amount of good deals we've done. I think that still goes massively under the radar. Like our starting 11 at the weekend, I think it was 100 and something million, 120 million around that mark. So the fact that we've built a squad that's capable of competing for Champions League spaces is absolutely unbelievable. I think we need patting on the back instead of, like you said, sour grapes. But that just comes with the territory of doing well, doesn't it? If you're doing well and you've got people trying to shoot you down, it's a good thing. We're in a good place, aren't we?
Yeah, what was it? Jealousy is the best form of flattery, or whatever it's called. But our back 5, what, 40 million, you'd say? Or is it just above? What? So Olorine on a 3, Nico Williams 17 mil, Murillo 10, Milenkovic 12, Sells 5 or something like that.
Yeah. I'd love to know City's.
I mean, yeah, like absolutely ridiculous. So, fair play to us. One question I do want to ask, and this is about Nico Williams, and I think he deserves massive praise. I mean, even Christian's starting to praise him. I thought someone had Parasite had taken him over on Sunday. But where do you rank him as left backs in the league? Because not only is he playing on his weaker side, but I just think he's not getting the praise he probably deserves as much as other people. I know like Milos Kirkesh is kind of stealing the fun of this season. I mean, he's been a fabulous player for Bournemouth. The assist he got on Sunday was sensational, to be honest, and rightly so. Deserves some plaudits and links. But Nico Williams up there, he's got to be up there, surely.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And the fact he's playing on his wrong side. It's not, you can't even say that anymore, can we? Because I think this is his right side, like it's been touched on previous. When he goes over to right back, he's not the same player. I think the thing for me with Nico is his level of consistency. I can't remember the last time he had a bad game. If you compare it with Aina, this isn't me dogging anyone. I'm not calling anyone because Aina's been world class for most of the season. Let's put it right. But he's had a couple of bad ones. Off the top of my head, I can't remember Nico having a bad one. I really can't. I don't think he's dropped below a 7. And for me, quite recently, the bit where I noticed it the most is when he's come on in the cup games. When we've brought him on for Moreno, you see the instant improvement that he brings, and that's nothing on Moreno either, because I think he's been pretty fairly solid squad player, hasn't he? For us, he started the season, played more instead of Nico. But yeah, it's his 1v1 defensive ability is up there for me. Like, I can't think of many better than him at left back. Same on the other side goes for Aina as well.
I mean, I think all of us would always want more from Nico in terms of getting assists and maybe pop up with the goal, which he has done. I think he's got 1 assist, maybe 1 goal this season. So you'd maybe like him to get a bit more forward. But I think first and foremost, he is good at defending. I think he's quite nasty, actually. Joe, for such a nice boy with pearly white teeth, he likes to boot people. I mean, I think within the first half, I think he booted... I want to say he booted Savinho or Foden. And I was like, yes, I love that. Like, just let him know you're there a little bit, Nico. I quite like it. And I think his relationship with Anderson and Gibbs-White's pretty good as Joe when they do the overload thing, him and Hudson-Odoi as well. And I think it's good that we've got players that are willing to work back. Like I think it benefits Nico that he's got a winger in front of him like Hudson-Odoi that is willing to come and help him. I used to think when we signed Hudson-Odoi, we'd never see that. I just used to think he was a flashy forward player that weren't going to really work hard, especially coming to a club like us. I've been completely proven wrong, and he's got to be in Thomas Tuchel's mind, especially as someone who gave him his debut at Chelsea. So it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to that England side, to be honest. Like what's going to come out with the 3 that we've got that makes a bit of a case in terms of Anderson, Gibbs-White, and Hudson-Odoi. So I'm really excited for that. So yeah, no, well done, Nico. Where do you think? Where would you rank him amongst our squad? I know. This at the end of the season is going to be so difficult, but would you put him in your top 3 player of the season, top 3 player of the year, or maybe top 5? Because it's such a difficult one. Yeah, there's been so many good players.
It's a great argument to have, isn't it? I think there's 10 games left. Ask me then, please, because at the moment it's like asking to choose between your dad and your mum, isn't it? Are you going to pick? It's impossible. It's literally impossible. You've got a striker who's on 18 goals. You've got a number 10 who's just churning out world-class performances week in, week out, showing glimpses of top-level football. You've got, say, the fullbacks. We could go forever. I'm not going to do it because we'll be here all day. But, yeah, I think definitely. In terms of surprise packages, yeah, because I don't think anyone expected him to be able to turn out these level of performances this consistently. It's almost like he's finally fulfilling them boots of when he first came through at Liverpool, because there was a bit of a hype around him. He had his little loan at Fulham, didn't he, where he did really well in the Championship, but it's completely different doing it at Premier League level. And he's only young. And he can only get better. And I'm just really grateful he's ours, and I'm hoping he's one of them in the summer where you just see it come through, nice little 3 or 4 year deal, because he's not got long left, has he?
No. There's a few players like that as well. Like Hudson-Odoi, I think we want to extend Morgan's contract. I think he's going to come up for 2 years left, I believe. So there's a few players that I think we want to keep, especially with the project we've built, and I think they'll all hopefully see that as well. And it's funny because earlier in the season we had a conversation on this podcast, I think, with Danny Tring and someone else. I can't remember who was on that pod at the time, but we was all wondering whether we should sell Nico. Was all right, thinking he's not really getting the game time, and then bang, plays that Man United game away, not looked back since. It's been such an amazing turnaround, and so nice to see him progress like how he has done. It's been sensational. But you talk about 10 games to go, so I'm just going to bring up a graphic. You all not, whoever's watching won't see our faces for a minute, and I will read out what's happening. So I've made a bit of a graphic. It's the teams that are lying in from 2nd to 10th currently and their remaining fixtures. So if you're watching this, and I will post this on our Twitter actually for everyone, for the teams that are highlighted are basically the teams where everyone are playing each other that are within this graph. So like Arsenal have got Chelsea, Fulham, Bournemouth, Liverpool and Newcastle. And I've highlighted Liverpool because they're obviously top. So this is going to, and this kind of comes into my next point, Mason, because Jamie O'Hara was quoted on TalkSPORT last night after watching the Newcastle West Ham game that the Premier League is boring this season, and I don't know where he's got that from. I don't know if he's got that because Liverpool have basically got no challenge, but from 2nd till 10th, it's absolutely fascinating, and I for one think it will still go down to the last game of the season for maybe 1 or 2 Champions League spots. To be honest, even though we've just beat City, I've just got to kind of keep those expectations for my own health benefit, to be honest. But this is going to be a fascinating last 10 games of the season, would you not think?
Yeah, and I think the media are just probably frustrated that Liverpool have ran away with it, which I do understand. But if you're a fan of these teams, you should be absolutely buzzing. You should be absolutely buzzing because I'm looking at this graphic now and it's frightening because it could literally, anyone could end up anywhere. Anyone could literally end up anywhere. I think if you're a football purist, there's everything to be excited about here, to be honest. Obviously, the relegation race is all but done, in my opinion. Like I say, the title race, but there's still plenty to pay for. For Jamie O'Hara to say that, I think that's because his team are languishing in 14th or wherever they are. I think he's got sour grapes, which wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, and I thought Bournemouth had like such an easier run than everyone else. And I kind of look at their fixtures, and even the teams that aren't highlighted are still tough games. Like I look at Brentford and West Ham and Palace, who have been completely kind of turned some sort of form around. Like Brentford are better away now this season, so that's a tough game for Bournemouth being at home. West Ham have obviously got a new manager. I know they lost the other night, but Palace turned it around under Glasner by the looks of it. So this is anybody's game for us. I mean, we've got the best running technically because we play eight of our 10 games are against the bottom half. But I still don't think it's a guarantee either because I'm a Forest fan and we know what we've been through before.
Oh no, there's no guarantees. There's none at all. There's literally none. I think Villa have probably got it the toughest. Looking at Villa's, they've got some real tough ones. But that there's no guarantee that just because they're tough they're going to lose either. Villa could easily, they're a good enough team to win all them. Man City are a good enough team to win all of their games. Newcastle, it's honestly, it's gonna be fascinating. But I think we need to take a step back as Forest fans for a minute and just relish it and enjoy it, because I'd rather be in this conversation than looking over my shoulder at Luton's results every week. Put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. I think Villa's is harder because they've actually got a game less. So I know you noticed it when I put this up. You're like, why have Villa got a game less? Because they played that extra game against Liverpool in the midweek a couple of weeks ago. But for me, I think they're quite focused on this Champions League run they've got. I mean, they should get through against Club Brugge. So I think that sets up a tie against either Liverpool or PSG, which is happening as we're doing this pod, I'd have thought, tonight on Tuesday. So it's going to be an amazing end to the season. I think like Man United have got a lot of say in this run-in as well for a lot of teams. So that kind of half worries me, but half doesn't because they're absolutely terrible. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know why people are saying it's a bad Premier League. I think a lot of teams are catching up and are doing a hell of a lot. There's a hell of a lot better coaching. There's a lot of better players throughout the league. I mean, you could even argue there's nearly a world-class player in every single team, bar the bottom three. So that tells you everything, really. Mm-hmm. And I think like people keep complaining about teams coming up from the Championship and not challenging. I think that's farcical as well, because look at it. Luton had never had parachute payments. Ipswich has had back-to-back promotions from League One. We had never had parachute payments, and we've now stayed up and we're starting to establish ourselves. I just think it's a load of nonsense, to be honest. I think people are just trying to make too many excuses. But we're going to get into Ipswich. They played at the weekend, lost 1-0 to Palace, looked like they're potentially going to go down. But do you think this is a game where actually they'll think they're at home and they could get something from this because of that cup game the other week?
Yeah, I think they have to. I think they're in a position where they have to look at every home game, especially, and they need 3 points. Otherwise, they're like you said. I think they're all but relegated. So I think they'll be looking at it, and also obviously the cup game. Yeah, we made changes, but so did they. They'll be looking at thinking, yeah, Forest are going to be stronger, but so are we. They were away from home as well, and we're known for being pretty solid at home. So I think that. I think they're going to throw everything at us, and rightly so. I think you're naive if you go in there thinking it's going to be easy, because it really isn't. It really isn't at all. Like they're fighting for their lives, just like we were. Would we have given anyone an easy game at this point last season? No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't. So yeah, I think we've got to go there fully switched on and expect a bombardment from them, to be honest.
Do you know, because they've maybe not got anything to lose, they've really got everything to gain. Because I suppose in their supporters, I mean, I didn't get a supporter on this season, this time around, because I just didn't want them to be too negative about themselves. I feel like as much as I like hearing it, I'm just kind of like, yeah, but it's not going to be as easy as you might be suggesting if I spoke to a supporter. Because I kind of think like they've got nothing to lose, but that kind of plays into our hands a little bit. And then they're playing Forest. I know we're third, but they're going to go, well, we're not that bothered about Forest. So is their supporters going to be up for it? Similar to how when we had games last season again, or like the last 2 seasons, where you play like Fulham and Bournemouth and teams like that, and you're kind of like, we're not too bothered until like the bigger boys come.
Yeah, I think because we're not a traditional top 6 team, they'll look at it and go, well, it's only Forest, regardless of where they are. I 100% agree. Yeah, last season we highlighted the Bournemouths, the Brightons as, yeah, we can beat them. We can beat them at home, regardless of how poor we'd been. We did highlight them games just like they will. And like I said, we'd be very naive to think, as fans, to think that we're going to go there and turn up and easily win, because it won't be. These last 10 games, it's so cliche and boring, but they're cup finals. They are. As much as we don't want it to be, and we want to just go and get our nice 3 points and match our reverse fixtures. Obviously, if we did match our reverse fixtures, that'd be very nice. I think we'd win the last 9 and draw 1. So I think that'd be brilliant, but we'd be very naive to think that that's going to happen. Very naive.
Imagine if we did. I think we'd end up coming like second, to be honest, in all honesty. But I'm just going to put up the team that we've pretty much know that I think we'll name. I think it's going to be unchanged for a 4th game in a row. Was you quite surprised, actually? I should have probably asked this before when we played about the City game, but was you actually surprised that we stuck with this? Because people were saying like Yates had a good game against Ipswich and blah blah blah, and we didn't really create too much against Arsenal, but when Yates come on, it kind of pushed people up 10 yards up the pitch. Same with Danilo, but yeah, just was you surprised or not really?
Yeah, I'd say I was 100% surprised with the lineup, but as soon as, like I said earlier, as soon as I seen us lining up, it made total sense, because Dominguez is in there because he can do that job. He can do that job as like the right midfielder, if you like. And like you said, it chopped and changed. There was times where it was a 4-3-3. There was times where it was a 4-4-2. There was times where it was a 4-2-3-1. Completely different players in different formation in different places on the pitch. So yeah, I think it made sense instantly at kickoff. But yeah, when I got the team, I was to be honest, I felt sorry for Yates, because he gets a lot of flack, sometimes rightly. Going to probably say sometimes wrongly. I don't want to, but I have to. But he's been very good. He's been very good. He's been very, very good since he's come on. The Newcastle game came on, scored. Yeah, didn't necessarily have to do much, but he's came on. He's affected the game positively. I think the Arsenal game, like you just touched on there, he won us lots of good fouls and got us 20, 30 yards higher up the pitch and got us playing in their half for a bit longer. I think the cup game, he scored. So I think there would have been no questions if Yates would have been starting. No one would have been said, why is he in there? But like I said, as soon as we seen how we were lining up, it made perfect sense. And I think we have to give Nuno that benefit of the doubt, because 1,000% he's earned it.
Yeah. Do you think the system tweaks again for Ipswich, or do you think it remains this more traditional 4-2-3-1 with Dominguez, Anderson behind Elanga, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi and Wood, or do you think it kind of? Do you think we remain with that what we did because it got Gibbs-White more on the ball at all?
I don't know. Obviously, Ipswich are completely different to Man City. They'll probably still have more possession, because that's just simply how we play. But I don't know. I think there'll definitely obviously be tactical tweaks because that's how Nuno does things. He changes it game by game. You'll see different dimensions to stuff. But yeah, I think on the whole, it will more than likely revert back to a 4-2-3-1 with Dominguez more centrally, just because I think, especially Leif Davis likes to bomb on, doesn't he, from left back? And I think, like I say, if they're gonna come at us, it suits us down to the ground with Alanga, Hudson-Odoi, and Gibbs-White finding pockets and counter-attacking with our legs and our pace. So I think the game will suit us, and I think if Ipswich aren't careful, I think they'll play right into our hands, and I'm hoping that'll be the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think last time was when Elliot Anderson was playing in the 10 because Gibbs-White was suspended / picked up a knock. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic for them to deal with a 10, because I don't think Crystal Palace really play with a natural 10. They more play like a flat 4-3-3 and caused them so many problems at the weekend from looking at highlights. Ipswich did cause Palace problems as they will do because they like to get forward. But yeah, I'm quite confident that if we can get a goal and get goals at the right time, similar to how we did against Brentford and Everton away, and even Wolves to an extent, then I feel like we could be in for another good afternoon, another good away day, hopefully for those that are travelling to Suffolk or Norfolk or whichever part of the East Anglia they're in. I don't actually know. So yeah, it's good. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how we go, and then we've got another international break, Mason, and then it's crunch time. Really, 9 games to go after that. So what's your score prediction for it?
I've been thinking about it a lot this week. I think we need to win. I think if we're looking, it's even ridiculous to say. I hate the fact I'm saying it. I do. I really hate it because I'm one of them. I don't want to jinx anything. But if we're wanting to finish in that top 5 and get a Champions League place, these are the places. We put it this way: if a team chasing us was going away at Ipswich, we go, they're going to win that. If we were looking over our shoulder like we are, looking at Newcastle's performances, looking at City, looking at even Brighton now, Chelsea, we'd go, they're away at Ipswich, they'll beat them. So I think we have to. I think especially after we've won at home now, we need to back it back. We need to back it up. So I've gone for a 1-0 Forest.
Yeah, I've gone 2-0. And then just to remind everyone, so ignoring Newcastle because they do not play at the weekend, they're playing in the Carabao Cup final. So Arsenal are at home to Chelsea, City at home to Brighton, Villa at home. Villa don't play either actually, so because I think they were meant to play. I think that's why they played Liverpool in that week. We play obviously Ipswich, like we just said. Bournemouth are at home to Brentford. Arsenal, obviously, we've talked about Chelsea, Brighton and Man City. And then Fulham play Spurs. I don't know why I've highlighted Spurs. That's a mistake. I will fix that because Spurs aren't that good. So, yeah, no, a lot of teams playing a lot of each other this weekend. So, yeah, like you say, getting 3 points on the board with then Newcastle having a game in handover is essentially, if we've got points on the board, that builds that pressure straight back on them for when they get back into the league. So, yeah, I'd much rather have points on the board, and I think we'll win 2-0. I think we'll score at key moments of the game to potentially kill Ipswich and hopefully come away with another 3 points and get back to winning ways on the road, because it's been a little while since we've won away. So that'd be nice. But just a bit of a little question for you, Mason, and maybe a little bit of a quiz, because Reece did make a quiz. It was meant to be for you and Danny, who was going to come on, but had to sadly pull out. So I will do the little quiz as well. But would you rather get Champions League or drop out of the Champions League but win the FA Cup?
This is $1 million question, that, isn't it? God, a trophy would be amazing. It would be amazing, but so would hearing the Champions League theme music at the City Ground. Oh, God, that's an awful question. I mean, it's a great question, but I don't want to answer it. I'm going to be controversial, I think, and I'm going to say Champions League.
Fair enough. I think that's... I don't mind it. Like, I don't mind either way, to be honest. It's win-win.
For me, just to explain my logic, I think the level of player you can attract is a lot bigger than just saying, "Oh, we won the FA Cup." Don't get me wrong. There's nothing. I'd love to win the FA Cup. That's not me downplaying that for one moment. But I think the money and the revenue that comes with the Champions League, like I say, the bigger players that come with coming to the Champions League instead of Europa or the Conference. I think, for me, the pinnacle of football is the Champions League. The FA Cup is brilliant and it's our biggest English trophy, yeah. But we're in that every year. We haven't got a chance in the Champions League every year.
Yeah, and I think with the new format, you'd even like give us half a chance of getting through at least to the playoff point of it with some of the games you could play and like some of the teams in there. Like there's some absolutely honking teams still in the Champions League, like in comparison. So that's an interesting one. And also like you look at back who's won FA Cups before and then what's it done for them. I kind of think to Portsmouth and what happened to them, but
Wigan, Leicester. Yeah,
it didn't attract any bigger players for them. Like them getting into Europe attracted bigger players for them, essentially. So yeah, well, Portsmouth did go in that European Cup run. That was brilliant with like Sully Montaro. I mean, we're on a different tangent here, though, Mason. But I'm going to do you this little quiz that Reese came up. It's all to do with the like playing Ipswich. It's going to throw. I struggled with this, so I actually don't expect you to do any better unless you've got some sort of weird brain. But I think it'll be good because there's some absolute corking answers and we could just laugh about it and reminisce about crap players we used to have. So the first question is, our last visit to Portman Road came in 2019 as we drew 1-1. Who scored Forest's goal that day?
How many years ago was that? 6?
Yeah.
6
I'll give you a
ago.
clue. Centre half that we had. And we had him under Martin O'Neill, I believe.
No, I want him. I'm going to go Muller, Varg, however you used to say it, because he used to score from corners quite a lot.
Rhymes with Ragu. It is Muller Wagyu.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I got it right. Get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could just remember him scoring quite a few. I'd say quite a few. He's probably like a handful. Yeah, he went for a scoring stage, didn't he? So, yeah. Go on, what a player.
Yeah. So, second question. We lined up that day with a midfield three of promotion hero Jack Colback and now club captain Ryan Yates. Who was our other midfielder?
Was it Jakob?
No. I mean, it wasn't the great Pele, but it was the Pele that we seem to have. And I can't even remember what he looked like, I generally can't remember.
No, I'm struggling as well, to be honest, mate. I can obviously remember the name and remember watching him, but off the top of my head, I can't remember what he looks like now.
Our last win at Portman Road came back in 2016 as we won 2-0. Which Forest player got a brace that night? This was the one I got because I remember.
What year was that? Sorry,
2016. How old have you been? Did you have puberty then?
Probably not, mate. No. 2016, 10 years ago, mate. Can you give me a clue?
Well, striker. Not sure. I had a bad injury, so I guess that probably gives it away.
Yeah, but it's on longer.
Yeah. I don't know what I could give you. Big. No. Maybe I said that. Next one is a 1-1 draw back in 2014 as ex-Forest striker Daryl Murphy gained Ipswich a point. Which defender put us ahead that day?
2014. Oh, it's annoying because I'd have probably had a season ticket at that point and I still can't remember. 2014 defender.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know. I could. Someone could be laughing at me here. I don't know. I'm gonna go Alan Hutton.
No. Danny Collins.
Wow.
Right. 2 more to go. A 3-1 win back in 2012 saw which Forest player hit a brace that day?
We're going even further back.
I'll give you a clue. I think he would like be a Turkish descent, if not Turkish. Pretty sure he is. Well, with a name like he had.
Did you say a position as well?
Striker.
God, mate. Did you say 2012 as well?
2012, yeah.
Oh, mate, I ain't got no clue.
I don't know if we had him permanently or if he was on loan, to be honest. That's going to puzzle me as well. Was that
Yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday, I believe, as well?
Oh, I don't want to go silent because it's a podcast, but I'm trying to think, but I can't. Oh god, that's horrendous. Sheffield Wednesday. No, pass, mate. I don't want to butcher myself and get.
Also played for our rivals, Mason. Marcus Tudgay.
Marcus Tudgay, oh my word. If you'd have said he played for Derby as well, I'd have probably got that.
Last one, and I wouldn't expect. I don't. Well, you might get it because you could just pluck a name out. But our solo Premier League win at Portman Road came in 1994 as we won 1-0. Who got the Forest goal?
I wasn't born, by the way. I wasn't born. Colin Moore.
No, it was his strike partner, Brian Roy.
He would have been my next guest, to be fair, so I'm taking that as a positive.
Fair enough. I mean, you got Mola Wagyu, and that's sensational, to be honest. Just pluck that out of your arse. So fair play to you. But no, thanks for coming on, mate. I'm hoping we're celebrating another win and maybe another Matt Sells clean sheet. How many clean sheets is he getting now in the last 10, Mason? Because you're the oracle.
I'm going to go 16 he's going to end on. And we're going to...
He'll get Golden Glove out of the for that, won't he?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think he's well on the way. I think if I was being realistic, I'd hope for 14, 15.
The thing is, I think if he gets even if you say 15, 16, you pretty much say we're going to get in a European competition of some sort, if not the Champions League, because you'd expect us to either have won or drawn those games. So
yeah,
and I just think with so many teams playing each other, us getting them points means we're probably they're knocking each other off out of contention essentially by taking points off each other. So yeah, let's hope for that and hope for Matt Sells' Golden Glove, because that'd be sensational from where we've been. But no, thank you very much for coming on again, mate. I'm sure we'll get you back on before the end of the season. But until then, when we get our Ipswich review either on the Saturday night or the Sunday, we'll see you then, and have a good week.